Hey guys, welcome back to Two Dudes Talking. Today we're going to talk about something we've all tried to get at one point in our lives. The high score.
So Josh, what's your highest score you've ever had?
Two.
Two?
A
2.
A solid 2.
Not a 3?
Out of 1.
Ooh, I'm top 2 and I'm not 2.
Oh.
Shout out Drake, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What is mumble rap anyways?
Mumble rap. I don't think he's mumble rap.
No, he's not a mumble rapper.
He's one of the best selling artists of all time.
Yeah, thanks very much, Josh.
So what's up, man?
I finished high score last night.
Did you?
I did. I loved it.
So high score, for the people that are, wanting to know, is a docu-series on Netflix. It's 6 episodes right now. I foresee that they will do more seasons.
I hope so.
But it's on the creation of video games. And it's amazing.
It's an amazing story. So, like, I look at, we missed a lot of this, the stuff that they discussed at the time period. But we had the creation of the internet. And, like, just imagining the concept of creating something that doesn't exist. Not like, okay, there's not a house here. I'm going to build a house here. That's not the same as TVs are something you can watch.
Right.
I want a TV that I can interact with. It's completely foreign. That's not what a TV started out to be.
Right.
And these minds that took the world to where it is today were just it's such an adventure.
Yeah. It's quite possibly one of the best adventures.
I remember seeing the trailer for this. Again, so it's on Netflix right now. We were watching Donnie Darko. We were watching Donnie Darko when we saw the trailer for this.
Yeah.
And
we were like, damn, this
like
looks
what?
dope.
What is this?
Yeah, internet.
What is this?
My nerd just like, yeah.
I mean, I was like, I'm exhausted. Donnie Darko wore me out. That movie's so crazy.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later. What'd you do last night, Will? I watched a lot of that show. I couldn't stop.
I watched the first 3 episodes that night.
Yeah.
I was like,
so,
yes.
And again, so it goes through, I'd say, the first 15 years of video gaming.
Yeah, it's kind of vague. Like, the NES came out in
91. No, 88. 88 or...
Oh, earlier.
Yeah.
The original NES.
Yeah.
Was obviously Atari, the 70s or 60s, maybe even. The beginning of it's vague, but it goes up to about 1993.
Yeah.
94. I think, I kind of categorize timeline of video games by console.
Right. Same.
You know what I mean?
Relative to what we had, yeah.
So I think it ends right before the Nintendo 64 comes out, which was 95.
They were breaking into 3D when it left off.
But yeah, so the first episode is like basically surrounding the arcade scene.
Yeah.
And just, Pac-Man, Space Invaders, and this originated in Japan.
Yep.
Obviously the Mecca.
Right.
But like it for the show, it kind of has 6 episodes kind of geared toward different parts.
Different big impacting moments or changes in direction of...
I'm going to say it's the first 30 years.
Yeah.
It's like 64, they had some kind of 1964.
There was
stuff
early
going
stages.
On. Yeah.
Yep.
Show's amazing. But the first episode is about the arcade scene.
Yeah.
Like we just said. And then the second one gets into how Nintendo kind of came out of nowhere.
Right.
And was I think it was a card game, right? Like a card company.
Yeah, it was a card company that was from the 1600s or 1800s or something, been around for ages.
Wow. Yeah.
And when they started out with cards, then they got into interactive, I mean, not video games, but they said it was something at a fair or carnival games, like claw games,
right.
And then all these other things. And then video games came out and they took onto that, and then boom.
Right. Then episode 3 is like around role playing games and just how even board games like Dungeons and Dragons inspired video games to be more
consequential.
Consequential, customizable, if you will.
Involved.
Yeah, involved for sure. The next episode 4 is basically around Sega, but just like this rivalry of now we've got Sega and Nintendo, and it's like the console wars are on.
And then Sony comes out.
Yeah, and then Sony comes out and drops a freaking PlayStation on everybody. It's just like, and then episode 5 is of course about violence and how they just how it came out of nowhere. You know, it's like, okay, we're having video games now, but we want to fight each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then episode 6 is about like the 3D.
Right.
Getting into 3D and leveling it up. So that's just kind of like a little outline of those.
The episodes you can get into. So like there's your general idea of the topics.
Right.
What I found, I love Netflix. I mean, they've really, really surpassed.
Last 4 or 5 years, it's been
they've outdone themselves.
Yeah.
And hats off to them for that.
Yep.
But some of these small stories inside there, like you got the winner of the very first video game competition ever.
Yeah.
You've got the winner of the 1990 Nintendo Classic. You've got the art designer that drew these beautiful paintings for the Final Fantasy series and then condensed them down into like the 8-bit.
Right.
You've got the audio engineer for Nintendo that made all the sound effects for Donkey Kong.
The guy that drew out the original Space Invaders.
The guy that drew and the inspiration of those, you know, he said he used to think that
aliens would be like
War of the Worlds with the big octopus type thing.
Yeah.
So and you know, I love video games. I do. I think they're a great escape. Some of my most memorable moments of my youth were friends at my house or vice versa, based around, like we've talked about this before, you either got multiple consoles and TVs, or you've got one and everybody's taking turns, everybody's competing, Mario Kart, blah, blah, blah. Like, it almost never happened that way.
Yeah.
And just thinking about the opposite end of the spectrum of what we were talking about before, like, we got to see a lot of really cool stuff happen, but what if it hadn't? Like, what if those guys at MIT hadn't dropped out of college at 19, 20 years old to start these computer programs? Like,
right.
It was really cool. And being a younger person, it was awesome seeing these 60, 70-year-old super nerds in their happiest, living their best lives. Like, that's what I was talking about. You got the multiple story. One of the things that I love about any video game, and every video game, is it doesn't matter if you can customize the character yourself. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're white. It doesn't matter if you're black. It doesn't matter if you can read. I mean, it may matter if you can read, if it's a reading-based video game, but it doesn't matter if you're tall or short or fat or skinny or gay or straight or anything. Your character is the same as everybody else's.
Right.
And that really, I you know, as a white male in 2020, the pretty much standard across the board, nothing special here. I know that there are a lot of people that were in other situations that felt they had a lot of things going against them, and this gave them an outlet to stand on equal footing.
Right.
And they made sure to highlight a lot of really unique stories that didn't get the credit because of the times they lived in.
Right.
While these things were going on in these individuals' lives. The very first cartridge console was made by, his name was Jerry Lemon.
Not sure.
It's like the first African-American man to work in Silicon Valley ever.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he, without him, there would be no Nintendo.
Right.
But in those times his story wasn't sung,
Right.
and Netflix went back and fixed that now.
Yeah.
And I
Couple weeks ago.
yeah, I appreciated so much about this, like them sharing these experiences that I'd never heard of. Some of them that I had,
Yeah.
but it seemed like they gave a lot of people due diligence that had been people that had been waiting for that.
Yeah.
Gay Blade,
the trans woman.
yeah, the first video game contest winner at Space Invaders.
Yeah. Like that person was so cool.
Becky was dope.
Just like you can tell she loved it. She
I know.
loved it. And it's like, man, I felt those same feelings towards that game as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like that shared experience of that game.
It's such a unique thing.
The black guy that was working for Madden.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yo,
why don't we?
he's like, none of these characters on this game are black. And the entire NFL, like 80% of these guys at the time, like 93, maybe even 90% were black. And he's like, why aren't we seeing black guys on the video game? It's like that stuff does matter.
It absolutely does.
And it's like, but that was cool for him to see that and actually be a part of that coming into
to change it.
Yeah. Which is dope. So
it's not just about video game. These stories are wonderful and they're short and they're fun and they're great for human because, oh my gosh, like, yes, there are differences between all of us, but like, keep doing it. Just keep doing that living thing.
Yeah.
And keep trying to be better and fix it. And that's what these guys did.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I like how they focused on those people that were creators. I like how they focused on the gamers, you know, like the girl, the Turner kid that was 10-year-old.
Yeah. First Tetris champ or Nintendo champ.
You know, I like that they went a little political with the fighting thing because I remember that later on.
That was an argument for a long time.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton got heavy on that. Either late 90s, early 2000s. She was on it. So this was way past Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat,
right?
Which they feature in that episode. This is more like
Call of Duty,
and maybe even the Resident Evil games and
probably
stuff like that. You know, which is like, you know, it's come a long way. It is, you know, but to me, it's like those things. What's cool about a video game? What's cool about movies and entertainment and media and books and everything, songs, is you get to experience something that you normally would not get to experience.
Right.
And that educates you, period. You know what I mean? You get to make choices off that later on.
Right.
You know, if you play a violent video game, you know, there's, like we were talking about in another episode, those old Reagan women era, you know, the Reagan era women that were like, you know, like that era, they were censoring rock music and rap music. And, you know, it was like,
see example of the movie Detroit Rock City. It's great.
Yeah. But you know, it's like, here they come with video games and it's like, yeah, you got these 12-year-old kids in the show being interviewed and they're like, yeah, I like the killing part. Like, that's kind of the cool thing, you know, and it's like, I can see the concern of like how that can influence you, but there's so much stuff about raising a kid, as you would know, that is so much more responsibility than just what they're exposed to. And, and I mean, it's just like, yo, like you can watch a Harry Potter movie, play a Mortal Kombat video game, read a Stephen King book, and recognize the reality and the non-realities of all of those things.
Yes.
And it's your responsibility as a parent to teach that to your kids, to recognize that, and then you're done.
Yep.
And then they can go do whatever they want. You know?
Yep. And they're going to anyway.
Yeah, and they're going to anyway.
Just like I did. I had Resident Evil directors cut. It scared me to death.
Yeah, I played similar to you, you know, you would have 4 or 5 friends over or whoever could come over, and you know, you play Halo to the wee hours of the night, or freaking Resident Evil. You know,
terrifying.
Yeah, just be scared out of your
Silent
mind.
Hill.
Yeah, and you know, or even non-scary games like, you know, Mario Kart 64 is still to this day one of the funnest games.
Yeah,
Super Smash Bros.
Oh, it's great, and there's so many variations now.
Yeah,
I loved how in this one. So again, if you are or ever have been a video gamer? Like, if you ever had one that you really liked,
and even if you haven't, you have one.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So this was just so enjoyable. There's so many things they haven't touched on. Pokemon, like in a big way. They got
like they stopped it, like I said, like 93, 94.
So I think we're gonna see more of this. But
the show is so good.
It's crazy how consumed everybody was. But again, like, you're looking at these early like Pong.
Yeah.
Just bam,
These
bam,
Atari
bam.
games.
Yep, I remember everybody being like, "Oh, that's the easiest game in the world. Like, it's got to be the easiest game in the world."
Hard as hell.
Waxed me, dude. That game and that ball just waxed me. And
So hard.
I think one of the things that was just so repetitive through the show was all these people left other things behind. Like, they left these huge jobs. Like, when they started Silicon Valley, they're talking about, it used to be like 80% prune fields.
Right.
And then they're like, no, we need a bunch of graphic designers. We need all you guys. We don't care what you work. We don't care what you wear to work. We don't care what hours you work. We don't care if you smoke weed in the hallway. We don't care if you do other nefarious things here. Give us good content and we'll pay you to do it. And these people just flocked in, all these minds that have been like, they were talking about with Mario, the scroll, the horizontal scroll.
Yeah, they couldn't figure it out. So one guy was like, I'm going to figure it out. And you know what he did? He figured it out in a night, one night. And I have a hard time, like, placing myself into a point in my life that I didn't have these things, that they wouldn't exist, know. But it's just so creative. And I in all honesty, I am so happy that we have video games. I don't know what I'd do without them. Yeah, I used to. So I obviously played them. I was born in '89, so NES was already out. Mm-hmm. Super Nintendo came out in '91, I think '92.
Right, ish.
The 64, so came out in '95. I'm going with Nintendo here. Then we'll go through. 64 came out in 95, GameCube 2001, the Wii like 2006. It's like every 5 years.
Right.
And then the Wii was here for a while.
And then the Switch.
And then PlayStation came out 94, 5?
I think 94.
Yeah, 94, the original PlayStation. The second one came out in 2000, which actually the anniversary was like a week or two ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah, wild. I think it was a week or two ago. PlayStation 3 was like 07. Mm-hmm. And it was out for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had a really good marketing point with that, with it being one of the first Blu-ray player consoles where you could get both.
And then 4 came out 6 years ago, 14 maybe.
And now we got 5 coming out.
Yeah, 5's coming out this Christmas or this holiday. And, there's so many things that have come and gone between, the last 30 years.
Right.
And video games have been around for really 50, 55 now with arcades and old Ataris and stuff like that. Yeah, they were a big part of my life up until I was like 13, 14. Then music was just huge for me for 5 or 6 years. And then I got back into them as an older person.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, they're so good now because the graphics are incredible.
Movies and video games. Yeah. One of the things that's just talking about that, like, those are two constants. You can expect the video game industry and the entertainment, like cinema, more than TV, at least pre Netflix and AMC and stuff. They have always pushed the envelope. Like, they're like, okay, what's that new breakthrough with graphics? Like, you're talking about the new Dune coming out. And it's supposed to be a landmark film. Dune is currently on Hulu right now. If you have not seen it, D-U-N-E, Dune.
Dune.
It's coming out in
The
spice. It's coming around Christmas time. But they're the Lord of the Rings, the widespread battles. What were you talking about? The
Oh, massive software.
Massive software.
Yeah.
3D. Like, yeah, we had 3D a little bit, but then they made 3D Mario. Yeah. And then somebody else came out with something better because they had to stay relevant. And then boom, 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 boom. So like now you're seeing 3D video games and 4K 3D TV.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
A small thing to just that is like, so Pixar.
Yeah.
Pixar is an animation studios that is owned by Disney now. Was bought in 2002. But they started off as a graphics company for Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
And Apple.
Word.
And then it just evolved. But they used that technology to produce so many things that it just kept growing and growing, kept pushing that envelope. So it's a small example of that.
Yeah, no, and I mean, there's nothing really, thank you, because that's a great specific. What I was just getting at was I can expect the next big things to be coming either on movies or mainly on video games. That's where you see all the graphics because it takes so much.
Right.
But it started on pieces of paper with drawings of octopuses. And the fact that Netflix went back and, I mean, they just did such a pretty job.
Yeah, I love how you see it. It's like, you know, as an adult, if you play video games, you're a loser.
Yeah.
You know, to a lot of people, you're wasting your time. You're a nerd. You're doing this, you know, whatever. And I can see like, yeah, you got to get your responsibilities in order, obviously. But like,
the older files.
What I liked about this is like I saw some of the oldest people I've ever seen playing a video game in this show.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Wow.
And then, like, you got to think some of these people created this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's their job. It's their life. It's their passion. It's their love. You know, it's like.
So that you get the married couple. There's a married couple in the RPG episode.
Right.
It was so interesting. So, you know, we have interactive TV shows now. Black Mirror Bandersnatch, which is a really cool concept. You can interact with the TV show. Bear Grylls has this Man vs. Wild thing on Netflix where you can choose, and your guy will eat crap and die or not.
Right.
But you know, the guy was talking about her, the woman. I can't remember their names, but she was introducing. It was the creators of Mystery House.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how he brought home a computer from work, and it was just the black background with the green dialogue, and it was completely text interactive. And she's like, "Well, what you doing over here?
Yeah,
what is this? Don't mind if I do. Don't mind me. I'm gonna take this."
Right.
And like got so consumed, and then she was like, "This isn't enough, so I'm gonna make my own video game. How do I go about doing this? What do I need to do to make okay, I'm making a video game over here."
Yeah.
And then they created the first visual of walking down a hallway.
Right.
At all, because she was, you know, you had the choice. So you see a troll running across the field. What do you do? And, you know, you had to like 10 seconds to type in a response, run away, hide behind tree. And she was like, what if I could see that field? And they used the one solid green line for an outline of a field and a little grass shrubbery. And then boom, now there's a whole new world.
Yeah.
And just, you know, everybody craps on the last thing as soon as something else comes out.
Right.
You know, we all do that.
Don't appreciate where you came from.
No, we don't at all. Yeah. But that show really made me appreciate it so much.
Yeah, I remember some of those like, Sega Genesis games where like, you know, it is just side scrolling and you're just doing this. You're just jumping or shooting left or right or whatever. Or even 64 like Mario, and like, you know, his freaking nose is a polygon. You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, or whatever. Yeah, you don't appreciate like I'm playing Breath of the Wild again. Like I went back. So I bought a Nintendo Switch at the beginning of the coronavirus just to play this Zelda game because it's one of my favorite games of all time, franchises. Bought it, beat it, sold the system. 6 months later, I was like, damn, I really want to play that game again. So I went out and bought it again. But like that game is one of the most visually appealing games, and it's not even up there with like some of these Xbox
Skyrim or something.
Yeah, or Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
But it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's like
it flows so well. It's
but I can appreciate it a lot just from where like those 64 days.
Yeah.
Or those, playing Aladdin side scroller
all day and being
Genesis.
so happy with that. Like, so let me see. My first video game.
Or those 8-bit Game Boy games.
Oh yeah, Turok. Turok was my first Game Boy game.
Wow.
And yeah, it was wild.
Sheesh.
But so we had the original Nintendo and then Game Boy. Worked with those until PS1 came out.
And Game Boy was black and white.
Yeah. Yep. No backlight, no backlit screen. It was just this is how crazy this concept is. So when I got my first Game Boy, I was like 6 or 7, and my mom actually took it back to the store because we thought it was broken, right?
Because you couldn't see it.
No. This was the first time I'd ever been required to put batteries in anything.
Oh.
Ever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And we thought it was busted. Like, I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. I cannot make this thing work. But, like...
That thing came with, you had to put 4 batteries in.
Yeah, 4 AA's. I mean, you could knock somebody out with that thing.
Yeah.
But there's so much creative therapy in a video game.
Oh, my.
Wow. I love the RPG episode because I vibe with that so hard. I mean, like, you've got your own story, and like somebody else may have laid down the foundations, but you can start here and you can play the same exact game any number of different ways. And that's just amazing to me
yeah, that's an ultimate video game.
Yeah.
To me, like Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
You start, you have to do 4 things first, and then the rest of it's up to you.
So
you just go.
I mentioned the Mystery House.
Yeah.
That was actually a huge part of the Ready Player One book.
Oh, okay.
At least.
That's cool.
They spent a lot of time talking about that, and I was really glad to see the visuals of that and everything.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
If video games get to that point where you're immersed in total virtual reality, meaning where you can feel pain,
or at least sensory information.
Yeah, feel it.
Right.
Experience like weather.
Right.
And then you're moving more than just your hands to control something. That's going to be a wild day.
I mean, I think we may get very, very close in our lifetime. I'm not kidding. Like, I just looking at the people that brought us to where we are here today over that amount of time, looking at the technology we have now as opposed to then, and the acceptance of that field. Like, yeah, it is more of an industry. It is an industry. I mean, of course it's an industry. But it's much more supported to be set up to do something like that. Like, these people don't have to look for grants. There's billions out there waiting for somebody that can make this happen. And I do think that we'll see that happen in our lifetime.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a matter of technology.
It's the concept. Somebody's just...
As it is a matter of, can a human handle that?
I think we can.
Yeah.
I do think we can.
I don't think we can yet.
I think there are people that could.
I think if it was here tomorrow, I don't think we could.
I think it would probably turn the world into civil unrest for a minute, and then maybe a couple of years from now we'd be okay. But like people are adaptable.
Yeah,
and
they change.
Look at how much the coronavirus has changed our everyday life. Like, now, something like that might be very well accepted because it's a new,
Well, that's what I was getting to is like the only thing I think what people can't handle is the biological
separation
response to these things.
Yeah.
So people were getting motion sickness when the 64 came out and the PlayStation, because it's like, it's 3D now, so that's what I'm talking about is like, as far as handling it. That's a whole nother level where it's like in Ready Player One, where you're literally running as fast as you can on a treadmill,
that's
shooting something. Yeah. It's like, this is a whole nother level of thing. Like, you're going to have to be a damn athlete, like a super.
That's why in Ready Player One they have those health programs that you can't do anything until you get done with your 45 minutes of exercise, which is mandated by this program. Like,
right.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's.
But so much stuff is there. But like,
yeah,
you know, it's gonna be interesting. That's going to be interesting.
So we talked about the future. We'll talk about that again later, but let's go back and talk about at least one game on your systems as you were coming up as a kid.
Okay. Yeah, I got to make it quick because we're almost out of time.
We can do that.
Just one from each system?
Yeah.
So favorite games from each system. So Sega Genesis, favorite game was Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo 64, favorite game was a tie between GoldenEye and Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite game for the GameCube was a tie between Metroid Prime and Zelda Wind Waker.
Okay.
Favorite game for the original Xbox was Halo 2, straight up. PlayStation 3, Final Fantasy 13.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation 4, Final Fantasy 7. Nintendo Switch, Breath of the Wild.
Word.
Yeah, how about you?
Original PlayStation. Well, let me go. We had the Sega Master System, and there was an old Shinobi game. I played that game for hours when I was a kid.
Yep.
Regular Nintendo. I spent a lot of time with the original Mario and Duck Hunt. Let's see. It's first PlayStation or Game Boy. I had Killer Instinct. It's this great Mortal Kombat combat.
Yeah. Oh, for Game Boy,
Fighter.
Definitely was the original Pokemon.
Pokemon was huge.
Blue or red?
Me?
Yeah.
Red.
Yeah.
Red, dude.
Yeah.
So let's see. Original PlayStation, Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah.
I still play that. Oh my gosh. Original Xbox, Fable.
Great game.
Yeah, Xbox One or Xbox 360 was Borderlands 2. I still think that's one of the best first-person shooters of all time. Xbox One, The Reckoning. That was the one that kind of snuck under the radar. They're rebuilding that right now. Computer, World of Warcraft, Switch, Diablo 3 still.
Yeah. So a computer game. I've definitely had some computer games. That is a tie between Age of Empires.
Yeah.
And StarCraft.
Word.
Yeah.
PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah.
All day.
Absolutely.
And PlayStation.
Yeah.
I bought the PlayStation 4 like you did with the Switch for Final Fantasy 7. And it was worth it for every penny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So yeah, guys, check out High Score on Netflix. It's so dope.
It's so good.
It's so good.
If nothing else, watch the intro and see if you can walk away from it. Good luck.
Yeah, the trailer's dope.
The soundtrack. Let me touch on that real quick. Half of the time I was watching that show, I was just sitting here like,
just vibing.
I mean, ambient, great sound all the way through that thing. It was just so impressive. Good job, Netflix.
Yep. So if you guys want to leave us a comment down below,
tell us your favorite video games.
Yeah, favorite video game and your favorite episode of that series.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll catch you next time on Two Dudes Talking.
See ya.